Hey friends, EJ here from the back porch again. If you will remember, last week we talked about some pretty cool musical instruments that we've got here at the shop. I had the Martin HD28 and some pretty cool old folk fiddles and things like that, and it kind of got my mind thinking about some things that I had found at a pick a couple months ago. I was honored to visit the home of a former local DJ here in the area, and honored with the opportunity to keep some of his, actually it was some of his autograph collection. So I'm assuming that as a DJ, he, I guess through the mail got to meet, or probably even in person, got to meet some pretty famous people. And I got a lot of those, maybe duplicates or things like that that the family might have had. They've allowed me to keep some of those duplicates. I was honored to be able to buy some of those, and I want to share some of them with you because I've kind of got a heart for old country music and the history of it, and I thought it would fit in good with the video that we did last week about the musical instruments. So I want to show you some of the autograph pictures that I got from this particular state. And we'll start with this one. It's so cool that these still exist. They do show their age. And, you know, as far as value of things like these, there is some value, but the people who would love these kind of music stars are becoming fewer and fewer between. But here is the one and only Mr. Hank Snow. If you remember Mr. Snow, he was probably most famous for the Moving On song. It was the theme song for the TV show Moving On, but it was also a hit played on radio. I think he actually did some acting as well. Hank Snow. Again, even says on the RCA Victor Records right there, star of radio and television. The next one I've got is Farron Young. They call him the Young Sheriff, or the Singing Sheriff, Yodeling Sheriff, if you will. Farron Young, when you say Farron Young, I think of Hello Walls, hello, hello. You remember that song? That was Farron Young, a good, just an absolutely wonderful artist in his time. A little bit of a newer, interesting character. This is to Charlie from Ray Stevens. Everybody knows Ray from the Mississippi Squirrel Revival, and that's always a good toe-tapping song, a good time. We had fun with that particular song in some of the youth groups that I was involved in. Everybody would love the opportunity to see a squirrel turn loose in, I think one of the quotes from the song was "My Aunt's Antebellum World," and so that's pretty funny. He also did several comedic songs. If you know Ray Stevens, you know that he did "The Streak." Is that you, Ethel? You remember that one? Also did the Shriners Convention. Earl, how'd you get that big Harley up on the skydive, or the high dive? But anyway, so yeah, I could talk about Ray Stevens all day long. I hope you enjoy him as much as I do, but you probably do not. Here, the next one is Roger Miller. If you remember Roger Miller, you think about some of the things that he did. King of the Road, Roger Miller, King of the Road, trailer for sale or rent. That's Roger Miller, and he's a pretty cool songwriter and singer there, and really an icon of the time. And Jim Reeves, also a wonderful 1950s, 1960s name. Jim Reeves' autograph is right there. And he was known, actually, he sang a lot of stuff. I think he dabbled some in songwriting. I'm sure there are some scholars that will have the chance to comment on some of the things that they did specifically. But one of the things I remember him singing is He'll Have to Go. It's kind of one of the old 1950s, 1960s cheating songs. So that's what we've got there. Here's Mac Wiseman. If you're familiar with the bluegrass world, you're familiar with Mac Wiseman. He actually was a performer well up into his later years, but he is known for a lot of the old bluegrass tunes and things like this. Some of the following particular photographs with autographs are from that bluegrass world. Here is Mr. Bill Clifton and his Dixie Mountain Boys, signed by Bill Clifton for he and the Dixie Mountain Boys. Really cool. Bill Clifton is actually considered the father of the bluegrass festivals. So he was the one up in, I think it was in Southwest Virginia, that they put on a bluegrass festival, and you know, ever since there have been jam sessions and bluegrass festivals that have sprouted out everywhere. But he's kind of the father of that. A good bluegrass musician. I remember him singing some covers of things like "Wreck on the Highway." He also did quite a bit of the Earl Scruggs and things. Some of those types of tunes would have been performing around the same times. Here is a signed autograph of the Lovin' Brothers. Now, if you are from Greenville, Tennessee, or by chance you listen to local Greenville radio, you will know one of their favorite songs, that more popular songs, is called "The Knoxville Girl." And it's a ballad about a murder and how this particular singer would have murdered this young lady from Knoxville. It's quite the rough tune. If you have never heard it, look it up. It's called "The Knoxville Girl" by the Lovin' Brothers. Mad little girl from Knoxville town. So if you've heard it, you know exactly what I'm talking about from those first few notes. But what's pretty cool about this particular picture is they're standing in front of the bus, the Texas Troubadours, which was, of course, Ernest Tubb. So that's pretty cool in their nudie suits and things like that. That's indicative of an era. You've got that, you know, late 40s, early 50s bus with the big Texas Troubadours across the top and them in that suit. That's completely an indicator of an era gone by. Lastly, here's a group not so familiar to me, but I thought that this particular photograph was really cool and indicative of time. This is of Wilma Lee, Stoney Cooper, and the Clinch Mountain Clan, not to be confused with, of course, the Clinch Mountain Boys. But they were an early bluegrass group along that same time as all the other wonderful bands put together in that early bluegrass era. Actually, Stoney Cooper went on to do some solo work later on, so that's a really cool picture of him in his early days. So I just thought I'd share those with you after coming off of an episode about music. I would share some of the early music history with you. I do sell these, probably not going to sell these for a little while because they're so cool and tied to local history and as well as local music history. We are kind of in that bluegrass, old-time music capital of the world here, pretty close to Northeast Tennessee and Bristol. So I've got a lot of others. Some of those are duplicates, so I have some of those. I've got some more modern autographs as well, but none of them have been authenticated, which, a little bit of a side note, as a reseller, if you're interested in reselling autographs, the best way to acquire top dollar for those are to have them authenticated through an authentication service, and that will make sure that your buyers are not afraid of reproductions. That doesn't necessarily mean as much to me with these particular pieces because they're going into my collection. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed just a little bit of an insight about old bluegrass and country music here at the Back Porch. Catch you later.